Hey guys, once again it's Axelmith, the Star Wars guy. Today we're going to take a look at episode 14 of The Bad Batch. This has been an ongoing series of reviews, so please feel free to go check out some of the other episodes. We start out with a clone trooper on the run. This is some sort of forest planet. I of course immediately thought Endor, but later on we find out that it's called Faro, or at least it's in the Faro system. We find out in a little bit that this is also supposed to be uninhabited, but it obviously is. It's worth noting that whatever armor is left on this trooper looks very different. You can barely tell, but he is a commando. If you've seen Rebels or Clone Wars, you already get a feel for who this guy is. The trooper is hunted down and captured. It's also worth noting that I don't remember seeing these clone troopers' helmets, which is a nice touch because we find out later that these are early stormtroopers. Something I wasn't spoiled on, and I was very pleased about. And their design is awesome. It's heavily inspired by Ralph McQuarrie's original paintings back from A New Hope. I will say it's a less clean design though, is how I think I want to put it. The regular stormtrooper design ends up being smoother in the eyes and the back of the helmet areas. The Bad Batch get a call from Captain Rex. He's asking the Bad Batch to help him find this clone trooper from earlier. Rex seems to be in a bit of trouble himself, or at least about to be, so he can't do it himself. The Bad Batch discuss their next move, a sentiment I'm getting tired of repeating at this point. Hunter is a little hesitant because this was very vague, plus this is a reg we're talking about here. The people who are trying to kill them. Echo, who finally gets to speak up after a few episodes, knows Rex wouldn't ask unless it was very important. He has a point. Tech states, but we're in the middle of a job for Sid. To deviate means we don't get paid. No money, no food. Tech has a point. Omega chimes in with, but this guy sounds like he's in deep trouble. We have to help him. And she has a point. That little commentary from Wrecker made me chuckle a little bit. So we deviate from Sid's job to go save ourselves a clone trooper in distress. But first, let's talk about our first stop on Kamino. It seems as though the Empire is packing up and leaving with their clone troopers. Rampart is overseeing this, and Crosshair is back here as well. We are told everything is proceeded as planned to hunt down the Bad Batch. Crosshair also asks about what they'll do about the Kaminoans. Rampart tells Crosshair to wait until the time is right. I knew the time was up for them. The Horde squad get to the planet and fight the beacon the trooper left rather fast. Hunter uses his special Quinlan Voss abilities to find out where they took him. Up on this mountain, and down into this giant crater that has been turned into a base. I sort of winced at this because I thought it was Starkiller Base from Force Awakens. Disney has already destroyed the ending of Return of the Jedi with trying to retrofit Rise of Skywalker into the Emperor's plan. Star Wars Theory has a decent video explaining why, and a small skit video to go with it, which was rather funny. I really hope this wasn't supposed to be Starkiller Base, and leave it at that before this turns into a giant rant. Hunter sees what they're up against and gets discouraged. They have absolutely no reinforcements. There's not just the one commando who was on the run, but a bunch of them with clones that seem to have updated their armor, as we're not supposed to know they're stormtroopers yet. They did a decent job of hiding this fact. From the way this was framed and shot, they all look like a bunch of Republic commandos. But shh, Echo speaks. He reminds Hunter that they were in a similar situation trying to save him from Skako Minor. But they pulled through. If it weren't for them, he'd still be there hooked up to a supercomputer. If there's a clone who's in there against his will, they have to help him. Hunter left Omega and Wrecker at the ship a while ago, but before they infiltrate this base, as their signals will be jammed, he tells them to stay alert in case they need backup. Him, Tech, and Echo go in. They get to the jail cell unscathed and unnoticed, as is the 10th commandment of Star Wars. And that's when we find out who this particular CT unit is. Unfortunately, I ended up with a bit of spoilers for this episode, and as surprised as would have been, I am of course talking about Gregor's inclusion. In case you didn't know, Gregor was in a total of 1 arc in the Clone Wars. He helped a bunch of droids escape a planet, and was thought to be dead until Star Wars Rebels, where he's hanging with Rex and is now a crazy old man. In this episode, you can still see the crazy via his laugh, and a few of his mannerisms, which I thought was interesting, as he wasn't like this the first time we saw him. Thought we might get a little bit of the story of how he became a little crazy. So at first their escape goes well, until the road to the elevator is blocked because a whole bunch of troopers are gathering around it for inspection. Tech has the bright idea of trying to set off another code. Gregor attempts to explain something, but keeps being cut off by others talking. Their first clue is their enemies' numbers are no longer CT units, they're TK units. Tech puts a Republic code in, and an alarm goes off. The entire place knows they're here. preaching the Star Wars gospel here. A shootout happens, and this is where we're actually supposed to find out that these troopers are no longer clones. Gregor comments, "These are our replacements," and goes on to add that he helped train them. But of course not everything. That would have been dumb. After a few more shootouts, they escape via the ventilation shafts. Movie gospel now. Hunter gives Omega and Wrecker a call, which is weird because I don't remember Tech getting past their signal jammings. But Wrecker and Omega receive this transmission and leave immediately to pick them up. Since I'm really bad at things I've literally just watched, I'm going to go ahead with the second Camino intermission now. I don't remember where this actually took place. Nala Se catches up with Lama Su. He expects something is going on. The Empire has canceled all of their contracts, and he doesn't believe the Empire will allow their operation to continue. I mean, they've already proven that they could build an army, perhaps one that could oppose the Empire, or I guess a workforce. So Lama Su sends Nala Se to grab a few of the other medics and scientists and get them all ready to leave. Getting back to the escape now, the Bad Batch end up at a cliff and are pretty much sitting ducks right now. A bunch of stormtroopers and a commando followed them into the air ducts, and there's a giant shootout. They manage to at least get rid of the commando. Meanwhile, the ship is having trouble picking up because an armada of V-Wing fighters are trying to shoot them down. So after picking up Gregor and Tech, who takes the pilot chair from Omega, they attempt to lose the V-Wings by shooting them down and making another round. They're almost shot down in the process and lose power fast. Omega thinks quickly and plugs in and uses the power from a Gonk droid that's been here the entire time. It's actually pretty funny I've neglected to mention this droid, Gonky, though until now it hasn't really served much purpose other than as a weight for Wrecker. They're barely able to swing back around, and they're able to pick up Echo. Hunter makes the jump for the ship, but fails to land it, and falls a very long way down. Like, I'm surprised he actually survived from this fall. Mace Windu be damned. Being shot at, Tech doesn't have much choice but to book it out of there, and since they've been shot at so much, their HP has run low and they can't take any more hits. Hunter gives the order to get out of there and leave him. Omega is understandably freaking out because she doesn't want to leave him behind, but at this point, he is surrounded. It's too late, but the rest of the group is still able to escape. Rampart and a few of Crosshair's crew pays a little visit to Lama Su. They have Nala Se in custody because he figured out their plan. Lama Su ensures Rampart that there will be punishment for Nala Se's disobedience, obviously trying to play along. But Rampart assures him back that the Empire needs scientists, not politicians. He leaves with Nala Se and one of the Dark Troopers. The door shuts behind them, and there's a slight blaster bolt sound behind the door. Thus is the end of Lama Su. This episode ends with Hunter in a cell, with Crosshair visiting. Crosshair wanted them all, but Hunter will do just fine. But before we know what will happen, the episode fades to black. Now this episode's where it's at. I feel like the jailbreak out has been done a lot in just this season alone, not to mention how many other Star Wars media have jailbreakouts. But this one still manages to be interesting with banter between Gregor, Hunter, Tech, and Echo. Action, but not for action's sake, feeling like it moves the plot along. I'm very excited to see what happens next, which I don't feel like has really happened much this season. I mean in terms of feeling sleepless because of a cliffhanger. What will Crosshair say to Hunter? The rest will obviously come for Hunter, but will anybody else be joining them? It's so exciting to find out. I am glad I was wrong about my little rant last week. Though last week's episode was still very weak, if the drama in this week's story does stretch itself to 3 more episodes, which I have a feeling it will, then I feel like we should have had a season of 15 or 17 episodes, adding another one to last week's episode, or taking it out entirely. I felt like there's a lot to like about this episode. Gregor being here, the Empire pulling away from the clone troopers, and also seeing the Empire move towards its position in Rebels. That's all I really wanted to talk about this week, but let me know what you thought in the comments below. Thoughts, theories, any of it is welcome. Please remember to blast that subscribe button and ignite that bell icon to keep up to date with this series of videos. And since this will soon come to an end, please consider sticking around for other projects I have planned. Until next time, this has been Axel Myth, the Star Wars Guy.